Before the break, we asked you who's made the most ever appearances on Now. The answer is Robbie Williams with 28 appearances as a solo artist.
I don't wanna rock, DJ, but you're making me feel so nice.
Now That's What I Call Music has been with us for 30 years and provided a soundtrack to our lives. But interestingly, statistics show that as consumers, our feelings for Now change through the years. It's an on-off relationship, and we can blow hot and cold with the old dame of compilations.
When I was a kid, it was the coolest thing on the block to have a Now.
You got your first Now album, perhaps when you were 11 or something like that. But all of a sudden, when you reached 16, they were, oh, no.
As I got to about 18, 19, I remember people flicking through my record collection and panicking because they were going to find a Now, which meant that you were a musical idiot and you didn't choose your own music.
Then you stopped buying music after you got married and had kids. And then one day you had your first party again and you suddenly thought, oh, I've got no current music, what do I do?
Me and my wife and kids, we always have a New Year's bash. Just before the party, I'm panicking about what music to play. I quickly download an Now album, because you know it's a safe album.
And one man of a certain age who's definitely come back to Now in later years is the nation's favourite Dermot O'Leary. Every Saturday on his radio show, Dermot has a midlife moment as he takes a trip into Now's back catalogue, discovering some favourite tunes, but also the rich variety of music on each album. Aided by his homemade Now roulette wheel, he gambles with his audience and leaves it to chance to select a sparkling or not so sparkling slice of Now.
Alright, so last week our roulette wheel picked Street Tough by the Rebel MC from the classic Now 16. This week it's Now 17 and we are entering for the first time the 1990s, released in April. CD1 perfectly reflects the prevalent indie Manchester scene with tracks from the Happy Mondays, Primal Scream and Spiral Carpets and Jesus Jones, and CD2 embraced the rave culture sweeping Britain with, get this, the Easy Posse, Business, D-Mob and the Brilliant Orbital. And nestled in there too, some classic Cliff Richard, Phil Collins and UB40 giving you possibly the most schizophrenic album ever released. And so, what track does the Now roulette wheel have in store for us? Where it stops, nobody knows. We are going with side 3, track 3, which is... it's not a classic. 49ers, Don't You Love Me.
But the track Dermot can't remember by the 49ers, Don't You Love Me, is representative of what happened to Now through the 90s, as it moved beyond pop music to take on board many different styles of music, including the blossoming indie scene.
This is Now That's What I Call Music 26. And interestingly, just down here is a little indie suburb, and it's quite nice. You've got R.E.M., Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight, but then you go into the Levelers, I mean, full-on, crusty, dogs on string, let's take away everyone's possessions.
The idea was first put to us, it didn't really mean much to us in the band.
I never thought I'd see the day when you became what you've become. It's easy now to just look away, leave your conscience on the run.
And amazingly enough, it did reach people we would never normally have reached, and our record sales went up. Just because of this, we had more people coming to see us. And so, every time they asked us to do it after that, we jumped at it.
And jump at it they did. The Levelers made a further appearance on Now 33, alongside Queen and the Lighthouse Family.
You know, we hate using the word message, but for us to get that to as many people as possible is always the greatest thing.
By the millennium, and Now typically contained pop, sat cheek by jowl with dancehall crossover, indie trip-hop, French house, and a style of music, Novelty, that needs no introduction.
Hi, this is my friend Daphne, and I'm Celeste.
Stick you, your mama too, and your daddy. Stick you, your mama too, and your daddy.
People forget Novelty. No one seeks them out on iTunes to buy them. So the only place that Novelty hits really crop up is when you play an old Now album.
This one is never going to go out of date because track 12 on CD2 made it on a special beach in a warehouse in North London. And the two itsy bitsy girls, Dawn and Annie. Gary Barlow rather liked the look of Dawn and got her to dance for Take That. And she's now Mrs. Barlow. So there you go. You start off as an itsy bitsy girl, and now you're Mrs. Barlow.
A few years later in the noughties, Now underwent a transformation as it shifted format again. It had gone from vinyl.
I used to smell it. I used to look at the pictures for hours.
To cassette.
Do you remember like when the tape used to go a little bit funny and you used to have to like twist it around with your finger or with a biro or something?
And then when it finished it would click out and you have to turn it around.
Turn it around! Oh my god!
To CD.
I remember when CDs first came in and I was like, you could just skip. Wow.
To mini disc.
I mean, I would have put that in my computer, I think, and it would have bunged it up.
And by the time Rihanna starred on Now 67 in 2007, it went to download.
You know, I've gone from cassette, CD to iPod. Whatever's next, I don't know. And then next will probably be memorising it in the brain.
Whatever the format, if you've got any Nows knocking around at home, you may want to check how much they're worth.
The Now vinyls went up from Now 1 to Now 35, and this is Now 35. And if you have Now 35, it's probably worth about £50 sterling to you.
And if you've got any early Now CDs?
The very first Now CD released was Now It's Good Music 4. And it's worth, if you have, about £500 sterling.
So here we have my original copy. This is a very, very rare copy and worth £500 because they only made a few of this initial run of this first CD.
So if you have it, hang on to it or contact me and I'll buy it off you.
Rob's collecting habit came from working in a small local record shop, where Now also lent a helping hand.
I grew up in a small town called Naas on the outskirts of Dublin. We had a music shop called Top 20. And then, unfortunately, the shop closed quite recently. And to be honest, the Nows probably kept the shop afloat for the last couple of years because there were guaranteed sales and guaranteed people into the shop.
Now that's what I call running.
These days, Now shows no sign of decline and no sign of stopping. So perhaps the pertinent question is, just how high can those Now numbers go? 30 years ago when Now started, they didn't think it would even make double figures.
It was the same sort of time that Back to the Future came out, and our time travel joke was always that whenever you went into the future, you'd go past a shop window, and there would be, now that's what I call music 76. And you'd think, oh God, how crazy would that be? That would be insane.
Earlier this year, Now notched up its 84th edition and achieved an extraordinary feat in an era of falling music sales, becoming the second biggest selling Now of all time, demonstrating Now has an appeal that truly crosses the generations.
We've never done, I think, an age profile of Now, but I would say that it crosses 3 generations.
My dad bought Now albums, my granddad even had Now albums, before he passed away, and obviously, I still listen to them now. My son downloaded one, he downloaded the Christmas album.
As a dad now is cool because when my kids start talking about people like Selena Gomez and all these Disney people, I have no idea who they are. You just buy it now, and normally in around the end of disc 2, you'll find a few of these people going, oh, that's who you're talking about.
It's not rocket science. That's what it says on the box, doesn't it? Compilation of hits. I think that's why Now has survived. It's got a charm. It's about music. It's not about snobbery.
But if it goes into hundreds, then maybe it's got like eternal life and it's stronger than any of us. I mean, the irony is that there'll still be Nows being released when we're not Now anymore, when we're gone.
It's never happened with a book or a film or any other record. It is unique in that way.